How's it going, everyone? I'm Sean from S2F Gaming, and welcome to ARK Survival Ascended. So today, guys, we're going to start a brand new single-player series here. We're going to start this out as a bit of a beginner's guide, because there might be a lot of you, especially with the most recent release of Genesis 1, that are either fairly new to ARK Ascended or new to the ARK franchise overall, and you may not really know what it takes and what you need to do to progress from the early game into the mid and late game. Heck, there might be some of you out there that have no idea what to do even from this screen. So we're going to start with the basics. We're going to start from here. We're going to build yourself up, and eventually we're going to transition this series over to a Let's Play. I hope you guys are excited for it. I certainly am. I'm really excited to get started here. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and well, let's get into it. Starting out with a beginner's guide. Where is the best place to start? Well, it's on this screen right here, because you have literally just waited 2 or 3 hours for this game to download on your platform. You click onto this screen and you're wondering, what the heck do I do next? Actually, you're probably wondering, why the heck is the music so loud right now? So let's go ahead and deal with that first. You're going to head over to this corner here so you can hear my lovely voice. If you are playing on Xbox like I am, you can go ahead and press that little Windows button, I think it's called, on your controller, which will also bring up the settings. Either one will work. You are going to go ahead and change your master and music volume down to your preference. I think both of these on default are set to 100, which is why it's extremely loud and you probably could barely hear me. Once you've changed those two settings, you're going to drop down here to save, click that, and then yeah, you can actually hear me now. How great is that? Now, before I go through my settings here, I do just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, your settings are going to be completely different than mine. If you are a content creator or an aspiring content creator, your sound and your settings are going to be different than somebody who's just playing along. For me personally, I do not wear headphones when I'm recording. Personally, when I do wear headphones, I do end up getting headaches. So my volumes might be a lot different to my other fellow content creators out there. So again, just keep that all in mind. One more thing before I go over this is, I have always struggled to figure out what my best settings are for my setup, so I've actually decided to start from the ground up. I've literally scratched all of my settings, and these are the settings that I was using back on ASE. And how I'm going to do it is, after recording each of these episodes, as I'm going through and editing it before sending it out to YouTube and to you guys, I'm going to listen to this and kind of figure out, okay, maybe the master volume has to drop, maybe the music volume has to increase. I'm going to kind of figure it out per episode basis, if that makes sense. So for right now, these are the settings I'm using, but in the future, they can end up adjusting a little bit more, which at the beginning of an episode, I'll kind of give a quick little recap on settings and stuff that I've changed along the way, just as a heads up. So getting started here, my master volume is set at 75, my music volume is set at 50, my SFX volume is set at 100, my voice volume is set at 50, my ambient volume is set at 100, NPC volume is set at 100, and UI volume is set at 50. Once you have this all set up, guys, to whatever you prefer, or if you guys want to copy the settings for right now just to get through this part, hey, I appreciate it. Let me know how it works for you. Go ahead and press save. Now, before we jump into the rest of this stuff here, let's go back for a second, because there might be some of you guys that have actually realized clicking on this video, oh, wait, I want to play on servers. I don't want to play on single player. So let's get you guys catered out of the way so you can get the heck out of this video. So heading over to pressing start, you're going to head over to join game. Now, guys, if you are looking to play on servers, I am going to give you the nuts and bolts, because personally, I don't know too much about this. So that's why this part is going to be pretty quick, if I'm going to be honest. You got 3 different options here. You have official servers. Official servers are run by Studio Wildcard. You have unofficial servers. Unofficial servers are run by you and me, people that buy servers or are gifted servers from Nitrado, and they go ahead and make their servers. And then you have non-dedicated servers, which I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what this is. So somebody in the comments will have to tell you what non-dedicated is, if I'm going to be honest. Now, if you guys want to play on official servers that Wildcard runs, go ahead, head over to official. I'd probably recommend pick a server. Why is it coming up with the unofficial ones? There we go. Okay. So pick a server that's close to you because of ping and all that kind of stuff. yeah, there you go. Pick whichever map you want to play on and go ahead from there. There's a ton of different options that you can choose from. These are from all different servers all throughout the world, in North America, Asia, Europe. There's a whole bunch of them. Go on through, figure out what you want to do. You can also go ahead and change it over to password protected servers, Xbox specific servers, which I don't think it's going to work for official, but it is what it is. And yeah, kind of figure out what you want to play on and have a blast. Now, unofficial, I would recommend if you are somebody new that does want to jump on with friends or just with other people in general, pick an unofficial server. Unofficial servers tend to be a little bit more fun, a little more fair, a little more forgiving. I don't have too much experience with this, so personally, I would say if you're looking for recommended unofficial servers to play on, do a YouTube search, watch a couple of YouTuber videos, probably try to pick videos that are a little more recent too. But yeah, go ahead, watch a couple, kind of get an idea of which servers you might want to play on, and go ahead and have an absolute blast with this. I'm going to be honest, that's everything that I have for you when it comes to servers. If you guys were only here for that, hey, thank you for watching this portion of the video, and I don't know, maybe I will see you in the next one. We'll have to see what happens. Now, getting back to the single player guys here. All right, so we're going to go back to the main screen, and we are going to go ahead and jump back into these settings. And I want to go ahead and go over these settings with you guys only because if you guys are completely confused in this game, this at least gives you a bit of a benchmark to start with, and then you can kind of toggle your settings and figure them out as you play. This kind of just gives you an idea, or there might be some of you out there that play on Xbox also that see some of my settings and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you change this and this? This might run a little bit better for you. So we could do also a little bit of testing in this series too. So, you know, but anyways, we already went over the audio. We're going to move on to video. Here, my settings are set up as motion blur is off, film grain is off, color grading is on, light bloom is off, light shafts is off, and VSync mode is set to adaptive. I also recommend, after going ahead with each of these sections, I highly recommend going down to save, clicking save, click it twice, click it 5 times, click it as many times as you want. Make sure that your settings are good, because nothing worse than going through this entire thing, hearing my entire rant, and then realizing you pressed back before actually saving the option. So go ahead, make sure you do that. Jumping back into the settings, we're going to head over to UI. People that are playing on PC, yours might look a little bit different than mine because, again, I do play on console, so again, keep that in mind. All right, UI item slot scale is set at 1, NPC subtitles is on, crosshair size is 1, crosshair opacity is 100. The colors, I believe, are default, but we'll run through them anyways. Crosshair color default is white, color over ally is green, and color over enemy is red. Hit marker color is red. Minimal floating name setting, I have that turned on. Color item names, I have turned on. Inventory access sounds, I have turned on. Status notifications, I have turned on. Allow hit markers is turned on. Auto chat box, again, we're playing on single player, so auto chat box is off. Floating names is on. Chat, nice, good. Chat show tribal name, or tribe name rather, is off. No tooltip delay is off. I'm going to be honest, I have absolutely no idea what this is. Anybody in the comments, let me know exactly what that is. Greatly appreciate it. Automatically create POI on death. Now, if you are new to the game, even if you're seasoned in this game, why turn it off? I mean, I guess if you want to make things a little more difficult for you, go ahead and turn it off. Default, this is turned on. Basically, for the newer players out there, when you die, and you will die, there's a very good chance you're going to die on day 1, which is totally okay. That's the point of the game. Basically, when you respawn in, you can look on your map and it'll give you an idea of where you died. If this is turned off, you're not going to get that. So you're going to have to learn the map, and you're going to have to learn it really quickly. But again, if you're just starting out, I'd recommend keeping this on. Again, it's on default anyways. Melee camera animation on. Allow crosshair on. Disable menu transitions off. Toggle extended HUD info on. Moving over to this side, we have movement speed limit to hide structure tooltip 0. That's default. Dino tooltip setting, player tooltip setting, dropped item tooltip setting, structure tooltip setting, top notification setting. These are all set to default, which are already default to begin with. Item notification setting is set to minimal, and I believe that's already default to begin with. Always display multi-use text is off. Hide structure placement crosshair is off. Hide enemy structure cosmetics is none. I don't know if that affects NPCs or not, but I believe it's set as default on none, so we'll keep it as none for now. Always fade minimap overlay is off. For the newer players, I do want to mention that NPCs are on specific maps. They're not on every map, don't worry. There might be some of you out there freaking out. There's NPCs in this game? Yeah, so only for specific maps. Not going to go too much into that right now. Always fade minimap overlay is off. Hide floating gamer tags is on. Fahrenheit temperature for the Americans out there like myself is turned on. I do not understand Celsius. You guys in the past have tried to teach me Celsius. It goes over my head. We're sticking with Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit temperature is turned on. Chat filter is set to all. Hide server info is off. We're playing on single player, so who cares? Chat bubble is off. Text chat bubbles are off. Disable virtual cursor is off. Torpidity effect is on. Join notifications is off. Chat show gamer tag is off, and main menu intro is auto. If you guys are curious about this, it's basically when you load it in the game, it's set on auto, I think, as default. So you guys saw the little spaceship kind of getting pulled back to Earth and everything. That is the Lost Colony intro. If you guys want to switch it to the classic intro, go ahead and do that. It doesn't make a difference to me, if I'm going to be honest. So we're going to have that as auto. And again, for the multiple amount of time, click the save multiple times so you make sure that this is all saved, so you don't have to hear my wonderful voice all over again when you realized you forgot to click the save and you got to do this all over again. All right, moving over to camera. Now we have invert Y on off. Left-right sensitivity, up-down sensitivity is default at 27. We possibly will change this in the future. We'll have to see what happens. TPV camera lateral offset is 0. Camera view bob is on. Player camera mode is mid-camera. Dyno camera mode is loose camera. Camera VOV is 50. Camera shake scale, if you guys are curious about this, it's when Brontos and stuff are around you and you see the screen shake like crazy, give you a little realism. Yeah, that makes me want to throw up. So I turn this to 0, so even when there's a Bronto or a larger creature around us, the screen's not going to shake or anything like that. First person riding is set to off, and mouse smoothing is turned on because I have absolutely no idea what that is. All right, make sure you press that save button again. You guys are going to get sick and tired of me saying that. Moving over to cosmetics, there's only one option here. Suppress by default is off by default, I believe. And yeah, there you go. Go ahead, make sure you press that save. Moving on to advanced. Yeah, that's one thing in this game that takes a couple of clicks to get through these screens. Client network bandwidth is epic. For you PC players out there, I think this screen's going to look entirely different, so just keep that in mind. Vibration is on. Aim assist strength multiplier is 0. Basically, if you have aim assist on, it kind of helps you shoot things and stuff. I feel like it's a little cheaty. If you want to have it on, cool, have a blast. If you don't, turn it to 0. For show item names is off. Console access on. Stop Explorer note audio on close. I have that on. So if we're listening to an Explorer note and then we just need to turn it off because we're in a fight or something like that, or we need to close the Explorer note, yeah, the voice is going to go too, and then we can listen to it when we have a little more free time, if that makes sense. Max last death mark waypoint. So when you die, it'll show up on a map. If you die again, it'll show up on a map. If you die again, it'll show up on a map up to 5 times. After that, it gets rid of the first death, and it kind of cycles through there. You can change that number if you want. 5 is default. I think 5 is more than enough without getting your map and everything too cluttered with the amount of death involved. Disable ambient insect VFX. Restart required. This is off, and that's fine. Disable menu music. If you don't like the music, you can just turn it off if you want. If you love hearing my sweet voice only, go ahead and turn this off. But for me personally, I do like having the music on. It does get a little loud, but I do like having it overall, so I'm going to keep this off. Show item selector button as on. Wireless control aim assist. This goes hand in hand with this aim assist multiplier, so I have that at 0, and I have this as off. UI vibration is off. Underwater bubble particle multiplier is 1. Blood visuals on. Voice chat channel is all. That's by default. give default survivor items is on. Play action wheel click sound is on. Wireless controller cursor sensitivity, that's how quickly this little thing moves around and everything like that, which it does seem pretty slow, right? Yeah, that's the fastest it will go. I tried to crank this up to 10. It does not work here on console. 1 is the highest. Disable loading screen music. You can turn that off or on if you want. Disable cosmetic dynamic downloading is off, and then cosmetic dynamic download speed is 500 kilobytes a second. This is default also. PC players, you'll have the option to keyboard in here where you can go ahead and make changes for your key bindings and all that fun stuff. Console players, we don't have that. All we get is just a little map of, hey, if you want to learn the buttons, here you go, but you can't really change anything. So study up, basically. Or learn it as you go. But once you're done with this screen, make sure you press save, make sure you press it again, make sure you click it 5 more times to make sure everything's saved, and then you're going to press back and we are back on the main menu screen. Okay, now we get to go into a little bit of fun. I'm not going to go talking about the DLC packs and stuff. I think that's a little too advanced to begin with. If you want to buy some DLC, if you start to really enjoy this game, there is some DLC and everything that you can take advantage of if you want. I would say to begin with, especially for somebody brand new, don't bother with that. Learn to love the game first, and then you could always buy that stuff later on if you want. Okay, so from this screen, we have 2 different options here now. We already went over the join game. All the server people are gone, and we now have either jump into create a game, which that's what it's going to say for you guys, or we have the mods list. Now for the console players that played on ASE, moved over to ASA, rejoice, we had mods. And guess what? Mods are great. Mods are fun. I will admit, going over mods first, I will admit I do get a little mod crazy in my series, but this series, less is more. Less is more. Especially for people that are brand new, I recommend not really using mods or anything to begin with. Again, it's kind of similar to DLC. Learn to love the game for what it's with. You'll start to learn things that, hey, I might want this a little enhanced, or I want this kind of change, that changed, and then you can jump into mods. But again, without getting a little too crazy with mods, at the time of recording, we are in August of 2026. If you guys could see that down in the corner, we have a total of 580 pages of mods. Mind you, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, what is that, 5? So 10. So that's 5,800 mods potentially at this current moment. And that is going to be free mods. That is going to be paid mods. That is going to be cosmetics. That's going to be maps. That's going to be a whole bunch of different stuff. So don't get so bogged down, and please, for the love of anything, do not click through 580 pages of this, honestly. Watch a couple. If you really want to add mods to your series, I'm going to go over the stuff that I recommend if you're brand new. I'm also going to go over the ones that I recommend if you're a little more seasoned, but I would also recommend watch a couple of other YouTubers and everything, kind of get an idea, the consensus of what mods seem to be pretty good, and then you can kind of throw them into your gameplay and kind of tinker with that, if that makes sense. But going over the mods that I think, if you want to add, these are the mods I would recommend to add, if I'm going to be honest. So going to get started over here because I do have them somewhat categorized. We're going to start with the mods that, regardless if this is day 1 for you or day 1000 for you, or you've done many playthroughs, this is your first playthrough, this mod I recommend completely, even from the get-go. And this is the Cyrus Lively HUD mod. And on the screen right now, I'm going to show a comparison between the two, kind of playing the game without the mod and with the mod. Personally, I really like seeing the colors. I feel like it pops a little bit more for me. It's easier, especially as a content creator, talking to you guys, looking around and everything. It's just a lot easier for me personally to be able to see my HUD a little bit better. I feel that the default HUD is just a little too washed out, and it's a little too transparent, if that makes sense. So it does make it tough to see if you are getting into, if your health is going down, if your food is completely down, anything like that. I really highly recommend checking out the Cyrus Lively HUD mod and check it out for yourself. Play it on default, play it with the mod, see what you think. Just a heads up too, obviously the little clip that I just put in there, that was just with my character, but the HUD mod also works with creatures and everything that you'll eventually tame along the way, and we'll get into that later in the series, of course. But the other mod that I recommend is also Clifton's Backpacks. Now, for brand new people on the fence with this one, as a single player, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff on your own, especially when you guys see the settings I have for the series. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff. You're going to be carrying a lot of stuff and everything. The Clifton's Backpacks reduces the weight of certain items, and it's a tiered system. There's 3 different tiers of these bags or backpacks, and as you get higher level and as you unlock the higher tier backpack, it's going to reduce the weight a little bit more. So I really like this mod because it really helps out in early game, but it's also one of those mods that you can carry out through the entire game too. So highly recommend this. If you're on the fence about it, I would say for right now, do not install it. Watch my series, wait a couple of episodes as I kind of explain it, and you kind of see how it works and everything like that, and then make the decision from there. Okay, now, this is another mod that is similar to, if you're new to the game, I would recommend do not bother downloading this right now. Learn to love the game on its own. And then once you've played the game for a bit and you want to change a few things up, go ahead and add the Vanilla with Sprinkles mod. This takes a whole bunch of mods and basically just puts it into one mod here. I would recommend watch a couple of content creators along with Syntax video that he did of this to learn what the mod is all about and see for yourself if it's something you want to add. Personally, as a seasoned ARK player, I love this mod. It does a lot of bells and whistles, but there's a lot in it where there's a lot of things that you can either take away, you can keep, and it's really nice that you have that customization to be able to go into the mod and take a few things out, add a few things, keep a few things, and whatever. And again, I know it's a little more generalization right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the coming episodes. So yeah, the next mods, of course, we're going to talk about are the mods for the holiday events. Personally, I just went ahead right now and downloaded all of the events. Winter Wonderland is for Christmas, of course. Turkey Trial is for Thanksgiving. Fear Ascended is for Halloween. Summer Bash is for the summer event that they do. Excellent Adventure is for the Easter event. And Love Ascended is for Valentine's Day. Now, once we get around to the newest holiday, which at this point would be, we're in August, so October, so Fear Ascended, you'll need to go ahead and update this mod with the most current stuff. Again, that's way later down the line, but just want to give you a heads up. If you have the free time, go ahead and download them all now and just get it out of the way. Or if you want to wait until the actual event is running to download the mod, you can go ahead and do that too. So highly recommend that. Don't worry about Bjarnheim. This is more for me while I'm not recording or anything. I'm just kind of playing through this for fun. I am having an absolute blast with this. If this is something for your seasoned ARK players that do not play this if you're brand new to the game. This is a very, very hard map. This is once you know the basics. This is one of the toughest maps out there, and it is incredible. It's only 50% done. It is made by a modder named Nekatis. I think there's a couple of ways to say it. I always get it wrong, so I do apologize. It's an incredible map. It is incredibly challenging. It kind of brings you back to the tougher days of ARK, and yeah, I absolutely love it so far. It's only 50% done. There's still a lot more work to do on it, but I'm really excited to see where this map goes from there. So for the newer players, completely disregard that. Moving on. Better breeding. This is going to be more for, again, your seasoned players. Newer players, we'll get into breeding later in the coming episodes and stuff like that. But for right now, we'll talk about that in a little more depth eventually, but for the seasoned player, if you guys know, you know, basically. Now, the reason why I do have this mod here is because for the newer players, well, how do you download a mod, right? So we're going to jump into this one, and I'm going to completely uninstall it so we can go ahead and reinstall it. How do you go ahead and actually download a mod? So from the mods list, you're going to go ahead to that 580 pages. You are not going to scroll through the 580. You are going to head over to the search section here, and you are going to type in, it's called the Better Breeding mod. So I like to do, if I type better, there's going to be, I think, a total of 12 pages of better Pteranodon, better, you know, they do like better creatures, kind of like little TLCs for creatures that people have created. So if you want to do better, cool, you can kind of look through all the other mods and everything. But if you want to break it down a little bit more, I'd say just better breed, and it should pop up right away. There you go. And it's right there. Perfect. So once you have the mod of choice, you're going to go ahead and click into it. You are then going to go to install. You are going to click that. Just a heads up, some of the mods will go very quickly based on their size. Some of them, like if you're downloading Bjarnheim, will take a lot longer because it's a much bigger file. So again, just keep that in mind. One thing I can highly recommend if you are downloading mods, stay on this screen until you see it says installed, and then back out of it, and then head over to your installed mods and make sure that it's here, because I have run into so many problems of trying to download multiple ones at once, then they don't show up on here, then I end up backing out of the game, and then I try to go in to make a new game, and then I realize that the mod's not there, because then I jump back into the mods here, and I go over to my install mods, it's not showing up, so then I gotta re-look it up, and then find out that it needed an update. So yeah, save yourself a lot of time. Install mods one at a time. Do not try to install multiple ones at once just because it gets messy. It takes a lot longer. Just do one at a time. And yeah, there you go. So we have the installed mods, or the ones that I'm going to be using here in this series. Not right away, of course, but now we finally, after 30 some odd minutes, we finally get to jump into creating a game. For the seasoned people out there, I do apologize again. A lot of that in the beginning was more for the newer people, but if you learned something along the way, I highly, yeah, that's really cool if you actually learned something. Let me know down in the comments below so far, what have you learned with this video so far? And if you have any recommendations, throw them down below too. I would love to see what recommendations you have with the UI settings and everything that I have currently set up. So we are going to start on the island. The island is the original map. It is probably the most polished map out of everything. And as a new player, you are going to have the best experience playing on this map. Now, when you're looking at the screen, like me, I see, ooh, what about all these other shiny things? Don't worry about these for now. You will have access to these. I believe you have access to all of the story maps because you bought the game. Or I guess if you're playing on Xbox, I think Xbox Play still has ARK Ascended, but you should have access to all of the story maps. I think the fantasy arcs you would need to purchase individually. I highly recommend do not touching any of these yet until you actually have played a little bit of the game. If you learn to love this game, then yeah, you know, at that point, go nuts. You know what I mean? I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if you did have to pay for Ragnarok. I can't remember Valguero or the Center. I feel like we did have to pay for it, but I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure. I know Astraeos, 100% you had to pay for. This was actually created by the guy we talked about before with Bjarnheim. This map was created by Nekatis. You'll hear that name a lot because, yeah, he's made some really good maps. He's like the map guy. Anyways, getting back to it, we are going to go into the island story arc. Now, if you did want to play Bjarnheim or anything like that, instead of the official arcs, it's going to be over in the mod arcs, which then you would go ahead and click this, and then you would continue from there. But again, we're not doing that. We're going to be starting on the island. Now, before clicking single player down here, now let's go into the mod settings and all of the settings that everybody is honestly here for, because everybody has their own opinions on game rules, advanced, and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get into that. These are the three mods that we are going to start the series out with. It's going to be Vanilla with Sprinkles, Clifton's Backpacks, and the Cyrus Lively HUD mod, as we explained earlier. The available mods will be if you press right trigger, but again, like I said, most of these we're not going to have available at the time. The events will just come out when the events come out, and yeah, we'll go from there. But for right now, it's just going to be less is more. We're going to start out with these three. Now, coming over to this screen, on your screen in particular, it's going to come up with this choose difficulty thing. It's going to say easy, medium, and hard. Doesn't matter if you're playing to begin with, doesn't matter if this is your first time, your seasons, or anything, put hard. I know that sounds crazy, but your settings will match as close to mine. If you are looking to match my settings, click hard to begin with. If you click easy and then do all these settings, it's not going to be the same. So if you are looking to replicate my settings, make sure you choose difficulty hard. And I'm not clicking this because if I do that, it's going to reset all my settings. But just know, when it comes up with choose difficulty, or if you've played this game before, you'll need to manually click choose difficulty, click hard, and then if you want to copy my settings, go ahead and do so. So we're going to go ahead and run through all these. In this section, everything is default. So damage resistance, water drain, food drain, stamina drain, health recovery, and harvesting damage are all set to 1. Now, if on your screen it is different than mine, it is because you chose a different difficulty. This is why. If it's not showing 1, go to choose difficulty again and press hard, and then it should adjust to 1. If you're ever unsure, you can always go ahead and save settings and all that kind of stuff too along the way. Moving over to the next section, there isn't really too much that I've changed here. Everything is default: max count, damage, resistance, food drain, stamina drain, health recovery, harvest. Sorry, let's start that again. Max count, damage, resistance, food drain, stamina drain, and health recovery are default. Harvesting damage on your screen is going to be 3.2. That 0.2 irks me. I don't know why. It irks me. I've set mine to 3. It looks cleaner. I like it. That's the only reason. If you want to keep it 3.2, keep it 3.2. For me, it just, I see that 0.2 and it's just like, turret damage is set to default, disable taming, disable taming, disable default taming, and disable riding. These are all turned off. Again, I believe these are all set to default, except for the harvesting damage that I have changed to 3. Now, go ahead and click the save settings again. Moving over to structure, damage and resistance is the same at 1. Damage repair cooldown for you guys would be set at 180. Waiting 3 minutes to repair something in single player is ridiculous in my opinion. I understand from a PvP and server standpoint, for me, it's a little ridiculous. I have it at 30 seconds. I'm going to be honest, I probably will change this in the future. 30 seconds is even ridiculous too, if I'm going to be honest. But for now, we'll keep it at 30 seconds. And yeah, disable structure placement collision. I always forget what's the proper setting for this. Whatever way you are allowed to clip things into the floor, that is the way that I want this setting. So for the seasoned players out there, let us know down in the comments, is this supposed to be on or off? I think on is correct. I think on will allow us to place structures and stuff kind of into the mesh in order to keep our builds kind of clean. If it doesn't, then I'll make an update to this eventually. But for right now, that's going to be on. Anybody who can help down in the comments, greatly appreciate it. All right, moving over to the World tab, which is probably a lot of people's favorite tab here because, well, we get to talk about XP. If you are a new player, I highly recommend keeping this on default at 1.0 until you learn to love the game and everything. Keep this at 1. Do not do what I'm about to tell you guys. This is more for the people out there that have played ARK a lot and they kind of want their own additional challenge in their own playthroughs. I personally love the early game. I like to do a staggered XP. The way that this works is, from the minute my character spawns in until my character hits level 25, I will be at 0.25 XP, again, to elongate that early game. Once my character hits level 25, I will then jump back into the settings and change this from 0.25 to 0.5 XP. My character will remain at 0.5 XP from level 25 to level 50. Once I hit level 50, I will come back into the settings and change it to 0.75 XP. My character will remain at 0.75 from level 50 all the way up to level 75. Once my character hits level 75, I will jump back into the settings and change it from 0.75 XP to 1.0 XP. And then from there, who knows? We kind of figure it out later, but that's as deep as I'm going with it right now. It does create a bigger challenge in the game. It also does become a little more grindy, but it's very rewarding once you hit that next milestone, if you will, honestly. And that's why I really like this setup, because it really, really preserves that early game aspect. And I love it. I would highly recommend, if you do want a challenge, give it a shot. I do want to mention, though, if you do try this, I have run into problems in the past that once my character hits level 70-ish, for some reason, passive XP stops working. I can only assume it's because I keep changing this XP multiplier throughout the playthrough, and it's fumbling something in the background. I don't really know, but I do know that once I hit in between 68 to 72, passive XP for some reason just stops working. And the only way to fix it is to increase your passive XP gain by like 10, I think it was. It's something ridiculous in order to get the ball rolling again, but then it goes up so fast because at roughly level 70, you're in between 0.75 and 1.0 XP multiplier. So the numbers go up very, very fast. So just want to throw that out there for you guys. If you still want to play with this setup, I'm just warning you now. There's a chance passive XP may not work for you in the future. I've learned to live with it. I've learned to be okay with it, and that's why I am doing it in this series here. Okay. Moving on from XP multiplier, we have taming speed multiplier. This is set up as 3. For people out there that are brand new, you can increase this a little bit more if you want to. If you want a balanced experience, I would say 3. And the reason is, later in the game, there is an item called Kibble, which is the best taming method in order to tame creatures with. The higher you bring this number up, the less need for Kibble in the future. If you want to have that aspect in the game, go ahead and keep this number at 3. I feel it's very balanced. If you don't want to worry about Kibble, especially for somebody brand new, go ahead and bring this up to 5, I would say. And most of the creatures, not all of them, but most of the creatures, you should be able to get a perfect tame without even having to dive into the world of Kibble if you so choose. Harvest Yield Multiplier. This is going to be kind of interesting because single player people do like to increase this to 2 or 3 just to kind of make it a little more fair where you're going to get a decent amount of supplies without too much of a grind. I'm going to keep this at 1.0. And the reason for that is I want to make it extremely rewarding when I either A, go from a primitive tool to a ramshackle, journeyman, mastercraft, or ascended tool, or that upgrade from stone to metal. You know what I mean? I really want to feel that difference. Or going from getting stuff by hand to getting stuff using a dino. I want to feel that difference, and I want to feel that reward, if you will, which is why I'm keeping this at 1, which is kind of crazy for single player, but I'm excited for it. Okay. Allow speed leveling and allow flyer speed leveling. It's off on default. If you want to do this, cool. If you're a new player, I would say don't bother with it. Play the game as it's intended, if you will. But again, if you want to do this, that's cool. It allows you to level speed in your flyers and allow your character to increase movement speed. This was something you can do in ARK Evolved, but in ARK Ascended, they made it off by default. So for me, this is how they intended us to play. I'm going to keep it off as it was intended. Maximum difficulty. If you want your creatures to be a level 150, this is one of the parameters needed to get your creatures to spawn in at 150. Difficulty level is set to 1, which will be another way in order for your creatures to get to potentially spawn in as 150s. It also goes back to this button that we talked about really early in this whole setting guide, because if you do not have this set up on hard, I do not believe, even if you have maximum difficulty set up, it will not have your dinos up to 150. It will have it depending on whatever the difficulty is set on here, which I think is like 0.2 or 0.5. 0.2, I think, gives you creatures max level of 30, and 0.5 would give you max creatures of 75, 80, something like that. Maximum difficulty must be turned on. Difficulty level must be at 1. Choose difficulty must be at hard in order to get all of this to work out, where creatures will potentially spawn in at max level 150. PvE mode, in the beginning, it doesn't really matter if this is on or off, in my opinion. I keep it off until I have cryopods. I'm not going to go too much into detail on this because, 1, I don't want this video to be a 9-hour video, which it's starting to feel like at this point. And 2, for the newer players, this is something we'll talk about way down the line, so we're not going to bother with that. Hardcore mode, do not have this turned on, please, unless you want a very interesting experience. Enables hardcore mode, which players revert to level 1 upon death. Do not do it. If you are playing a hardcore mode series, I would probably recommend do not even have this on, because the game does crash and then you would lose your character off of something you didn't do. I would do it more of a gentleman's bet, where if you die, just do the right thing and, you know, get rid of your file and start over. That would be my opinion, but do what you want. But just warning you, the game does crash a lot. Allow unlimited respecs. Make sure you have this turned on. This will allow you to do a Mind Wipe Tonic anytime you want. Traditionally, you can only use a Mind Wipe Tonic once every level. So if you're at level 65 and you use a Mind Wipe Tonic and you have this turned off, you will not be able to use a Mind Wipe Tonic until you hit level 66. If you have this unlimited respec on, you can do them as many times as you want to change your stats to whatever you need to also. So I would just recommend keep this on. All right, moving on to rules. Don't forget, press that save settings button. Allow third-person camera is on. Voice chat off. Proximity text chat is off. Notify player joined is off. Notify player left is off. A lot of the stuff is for servers, which is why most of this is off. Admin logging is off. Enable crosshair is on. Force no HUD is off. No survivor downloads is off. No dino downloads is off. No item downloads is off. No tribute downloads is off. Enable PvP gamma is off. Show creative mode is off. Disable loot crates is off. Disable friendly fire. Now this is turned on. I am notorious for hitting my own creatures, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to end up killing my own creatures by mistake. I do believe if you have this turned on in PvE, if you're in a boss fight, your creatures will hit your other creatures, which is kind of pointless. So personally, I always keep this on, especially when I switch over to PvE mode. I'm safe. My creatures aren't going to hit each other, especially in a boss fight. Single player settings turn off. If you want to play with this, cool, but I would personally have it off, especially if you're looking to copy all of the settings that I have here, because if you click this on, whoa, your settings are all going to be messed up. So do not click this. Watch a couple of videos to talk about single player settings and kind of make your own judgment call if you do want to play like this, but I'd say keep it off. Active event. Now this, you have the birthday event, you have no event, and then you have a blank. If you guys want to get a little lucky, go ahead and click the blank and see what happens. I absolutely have no idea what happens here. This is for the ARK birthday event, which they'll kind of let you know in the community crunches when the birthday is coming up. So if you want, then at that point you can add it in. And I think that gives you like birthday dodos that you can kill and all that. It's another event, basically. It's a non-modded event that you can just add through here specifically. But for now, we're going to keep that on none. We're going to save settings, and now we're going to move over to the advanced tab. Use timer off. Auto start time 0. Auto stop time 0. System time is off. Prevent tribe alliances is off. Allow tribe war is off. Tribe war cancel is off. Disable gamma off. Actually, I do want this on because I want to disable gamma. Yes, I actually want that on. Sorry. I'm not a fan of gamma. It makes the game look washed out and everything. Up to you. Your own personal preference. I like to disable that kind of stuff where it forces me to use torches and all that kind of stuff in order to see. Okay, cave building on. I may want to build in a cave one day, and I don't want to be restricted to not do so, especially since, well, it's my world. It's my single player, you know what I mean? Disable structure decay. I have this turned on because I don't want my structures to decay. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure with PvP and PvE setup, the way that I have this whole thing set up. I don't know if this makes a difference if it's on or off, but I'd rather play it safe and have that turned on. Same thing with disable dino decay. I'm going to have that turned on. Flyer carry turned on. This will allow certain flyers to carry creatures. We'll get into this way later into the series, but for people that are seasoned, you know, with your Argents, Quetzals, Wyverns, all that fun stuff. If you have this turned off, you're not able to carry anything, which is kind of silly in my opinion. Extra structure prevention volume. So this will disable building in specific resource-rich areas. So if there's an area that has a ton of metal, if you have this turned on, you will not be able to build there. I understand if you're playing with people and stuff. Because I'm single player, I feel like I can build anywhere I want, so I'm going to have this off. No diseases off. This would disable diseases entirely. I think that takes out a pretty big core function of the game, so not a big function, but it's a function nevertheless. So no diseases off, but non-permanent diseases on. If you have this off, when your character dies, your character will have the same disease it has, and it will just keep killing you in this cycle of death until you eventually make the antidote or whatever in order to get rid of the disease. But yeah, it's just causing a lot of chaos for nothing, in my opinion. So non-permanent diseases is turned on. So when your character dies, the disease goes away. Allow cave flyers is turned off. You can have this on if you want, but traditionally flyers are not allowed to fly into caves. There are certain creatures that do have this ability, but that's also like the perk of having those creatures, if that makes sense. But yeah, on default, creatures are not supposed to fly in caves. If you try to fly into a cave with a flyer, it's going to knock you straight off. So I keep that on off because that is what the default is set up as. Save settings there. Moving on to PvP. Dino Decay is off. Override Structure Platform is turned on. This allows you to put turrets and spikes onto platform saddles like the Bronto, the Quetzal. There's a couple of others. The Mosa, I think, is another one that has a platform saddle. There's a couple of them. Change respawn interval. If you have this on, then all of these kind of take effect. I think my respawn time with off is just set to 5 minutes. So if I die, I got to wait 5 minutes to respawn in. If I die again straight away, I got to wait another 5 minutes. It doesn't make a difference. With this, it will kind of keep increasing the interval, I think. So it's kind of like penalizing you to constantly die, if that makes sense. I don't want that setup. I think that's just causing chaos and all that. So we're not going to bother with that. So moving on from these. Zone structure damage. So building in a cave traditionally will cost 6 times damage to your structures. If you build in a cave and it gets damaged, it's not going to be the normal damage. It's going to be 6 times more. Again, single player, I'm playing on my own. This, again, is more for PvP and balance and servers and all that stuff. I'm going to set it to 1. If my structure gets damaged, I want it to get damaged the same if I'm in a cave. If I'm outside in the world, doesn't make a difference. Structure prevent resource radius. This is a radius around a structure that bushes, trees, rocks, all that stuff will not spawn in around you. I keep this low at 0.25 because you can very quickly destroy an entire area around you, and then you lose the aesthetic of that area to begin with. So keeping it as a smaller radius allows those bushes and everything to respawn in without respawning literally on top of you, if that makes sense. Make sure you press the save, of course. Moving on to world. Day cycle speed I have as normal 1. Daytime speed is 1. Nighttime speed is 1. Initial time of day is off. Initial time of day is 0. So basically when you spawn in, it's just like the normal time. I think it's like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Spoil time is set to 2, which means when an item, a perishable item, is going to spoil, this puts it up double the length of time to spoil. This is in particular when it comes to mutton, when it comes to prime meat, stuff that's going to spoil a little bit quicker. This at least gives you a little more time to be able to get back to base and be able to cook it or whatever the heck you want to do with it. Item decomposition time. When you throw something on the ground, setting this to 0, I think gives it a 5-minute decomposition time. 5 minutes is more than enough time for something to despawn. Corpse decomposition time. So when you die and you have to run and get back your stuff, I think setting this at 2 gives you an hour in order to get back to your stuff. We may adjust this in the future. I'm not sure. Especially if you end up in a bit of a death run, right? And you keep dying, you keep dying. If you have this set any lower, there's a very good chance you're not going to get your stuff back. Sometimes it does take 5 or 6 additional deaths in order to get your original stuff. And yeah, I'd hate to lose it just because I had the setting a little bit lower. So for me with this, bigger number is better. I believe it's set right now at 2, which would make it an hour you have to get your stuff back. No resource radius around a player or structure. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is basically how far away resources will regrow and respawn around structures. Again, I had this set at 0.25, 0.25. How much resources? Yeah, okay, so it is kind of the same setting that they have here. Okay, sounds good. Just wanted to make sure of that. So, yeah, they're all set at 0.25. So, stuff should respawn relatively close to base, but not, like, in the base, if that makes sense. Harvest health is set at 1.0. That's default. Respawn interval is set to 0.15. Originally, I've had this set at 0.10 because I feel like it takes a while for stuff to respawn in, but I do feel once you get a little bit lower in the threshold at 0.1, sometimes things spawn in right away. I did watch Flinger Foo's settings video, and he's doing 0.15, so I'm going to give it a shot and see if this kind of balances a little bit better. The biggest issue with this is metal takes an extremely long time to respawn in, which is why this number is relatively low to begin with. It has nothing to do with bushes. It has nothing to do with trees or rocks. It has to do with metal nodes. Metal nodes just never seem to spawn back in pretty much. So it takes a lot for them to respawn back in. So that's why a lot of people have been adjusting this number a lot specifically. Now, when it comes to breeding, because all this other stuff is default, these are Flinger Foo's settings. I want to make that clear. I did not do any testing. This is all him doing the testing and stuff. These are the settings that he's used, and I have used his breeding settings even in the days of ASE, and the settings are great. They're perfect. Use his settings. These are the settings that I am using, that Flinger Foo has tested. I know I'm saying that a lot, but I just want to throw it out there. These are not my settings. I did not do any testing. This is all him specifically. So I want to make myself clear with that. Mating interval, the lowest you can go is 0.01. Back on ASE or ARK Survival Evolved, you used to be able to do 0.001. You cannot do that any longer on ASA. 0.01 is the lowest you can go. Any lower than this and changes over to 0. If you jump into the game, that means it'll set it to default at 1, which means mating intervals are going to be extremely long. So 0.01. Yeah, keep it at that. 0.01. Leg interval is set at 1.0 official. That's fine. That's just if your dino happens to lay eggs. This is normal eggs that you can use for kibble and all that kind of stuff. Egg hatch speed is set to 60. I'm not going to explain. This is his settings. I'm just going to move on. Disable imprint, dino buff. Have that off. You want to have imprint. That's the whole point of breeding. Make sure you keep that off. Anyone can baby imprint the cuddle. You're playing by yourself, so it doesn't really matter. I would say just keep that default off. Baby mature speed is set to 42. Again, this is another Flinger Foo setting. Set that to 42. Baby food consumption speed is still set to 1.0 official. Baby cuddle interval, he's come up with the formula where it is at 0.03, and this works out very, very well. Most, if not all, the creatures you'll be able to get a perfect imprint in time and everything. Some of them it's going to be cutting it very, very close, but they've done all the testing and everything. I've used this setup in the past, and it works out great. So use it. Baby Cuddle grace period is set to 1.0. Baby Cuddle lose imprint is 1. Baby imprint stat scale is 1. Force reset wild dinos. If there's an update to the game, if there's any time that you feel like you just want to refresh your game, all you have to do is just press on and then jump into your game, and it'll just do a whole reset. I like this option. There is a command that you can go ahead and do this with if you want. I would say do it this way. This way just seems to allow the creatures to also respawn in a lot faster than if you do the console command and all that kind of stuff. So, but for now, because we are jumping into a brand new game, yeah, we're going to have that off for now. Let's just make sure that's off. Click that save settings a bunch of times, and now we're going to move over to this. The good news is we're pretty much done. You've heard me talk a lot. We're pretty much done. There's a couple more things to go over, but most of the settings are taken care of at this point, which is really nice. Wild Dino, this is all set to 1.0. This is all default, not touching this at all. Tame Dino. Again, this is another Flinger Foo setting. I'm going to paraphrase what was mentioned in his video about why these numbers are changed slightly. Apparently, in single player, these numbers are a little off. If you play on a server These are the numbers that appear when you're creating a server. I don't know why the numbers are different, but apparently that's the case. So if you want transparency between playing on a server and playing on single player, these are the server settings, default settings that are set up when you create a server. If you need more clarification, head over to his video. He fully explains it and everything, but the only ones that we are changing is stats per level 0.2 instead of like 0.19, I think it is. Damage is changed, I think, from 0.04. It's a pretty significant jump from 0.04 or whatever it is on default for you guys to 0.17. That's stats per level. Nothing else. Add per level. Health changes to 0.14. Damage changes to 0.14. Nothing else. Stat affinity. Health changes to 0.2. I think this is the one that was originally 0.19. It's now 0.2. Damage, 0.19. Nothing else. If you don't really care about matching up with a server or not, keep them default. Who cares? I'm just kind of curious to see what these numbers and everything end up meaning, pretty much. Moving on. Player. This is all default. Okay, moving on to XP multiplier. So remember I mentioned earlier about using the tapered setting that eventually you could have a problem with passive XP? This is the section right here where you would go ahead and change that. The only way to fix that issue is if you change generic up to 10, which is kind of crazy. You start flying through levels. So again, going way back earlier in the settings, if you do end up doing the staggered XP of 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, and 1, once you get to level 70-ish, your passive XP is just not going to work. It may eventually catch up with itself. I'm wondering if it's something to do with that. I feel like people have mentioned to me in the past about that that's the issue. But if you do want to just fix it ASAP, change your generic to 10, but you're going to start leveling like crazy, honestly. It's going to be very quick. So to me, it's not worth it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. But if you do want to make that change in the future, you'd go ahead and change your generic. But for right now, of course, everything on here is set to 1.0, official, default, what have you. All right, and now we are at the final setting here. Max players in tribe 0. We're playing single player. Max XP is 0. I don't think you can actually change this anyways. Creature max XP is 0. You can't change this anyways. I think they're grayed out for a reason there. Flyer platform unaligned basing enables creatures not on a flyer's team, tribe, or ally to stand on the flyer platform. Otherwise, they slide off. We're single player. Who cares? I'm going to keep this off. Passive defenses hurt riderless dinos. So if I put up spike walls and a random trike walks into them, they'll get hurt if I have this on. Yeah, which I think is a little more realistic because, to be honest, if a trike walks up and hits into my spike, it should get hurt. If a Bronto walks over my fire, it should start to burn, right? You know what I mean? So that's going to be turned on. Only allow specific engrams. This is turned off. If you want to make it more difficult, you can turn this on. Personally, I've never done this before, so I don't really know what this setting would do. So I'm just going to keep it off. Allow raid dino feeding. This will allow you to tame a Titanosaur and allow it to eat food to keep it alive. The Titanosaur is an endgame creature. On servers, you only get it for 30 minutes and it dies off because it cannot eat food. That's just to keep balance in servers. But for me, being a single player, if I'm taming a Titanosaur, I want to keep the Titanosaur. So allow raid dino feeding is turned on, and the drain is going to be set at 1.0 official. Disable photo mode. I don't know why you would ever do this, but if you want to, sure, go ahead. And the photo mode range limit is currently set to 3,000. But I'm curious. This is something we're going to look into the series. What if you wanted to extend the range out? Could you do that on console? So we're just going to put a whole bunch of 9s in there, which apparently is 2,147,483, 647. Okay, so it's a big number. We're going to do that because as a content creator, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff. Plus, maybe we want to look a little bit further. Maybe I want to get a more cinematic view or something. I'll be able to move the camera a little bit further out than I've been able to do traditionally in the past. You know what? Maybe we'll cover... Nah, you know what? We'll keep it at that for now. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to save that. That could honestly do something to the game. I'm not really sure. Okay, custom recipes on. Everything here is default except for platform structure limit. So if we end up making a raft and we want to make a taming boat, or maybe we want to make a raft base, this will allow us to put 5 times the amount of structures on that raft. You can always increase this or anything like that. For now, I'm going to keep it at 5. 5's been a pretty good number since back in ASE. I've been pretty good with this one, so I'm going to keep that at 5. We can always adjust it later on and everything. Show floating damage text is on, so we get to see how much damage we're doing. I kind of like that RPG style, if you will. It also lets me know kind of, all right, what are we hitting for? You know what I mean? All right, and last but not least, we have Force Gotcha Unhappy in Caves. This is set to off on default. This prevents gotchas to produce crystals while inside of a cave. Yeah, we're just going to keep that as off. Before moving on, again, I know I've said it a lot in this video. Save settings, save settings, save settings. Click it multiple times if you have to. No big deal. Just make sure the settings are saved because, again... would hate to have to go through all of this again to kind of reconfigure these settings and everything. Okay, so make sure you click it multiple times. But now we finally get to jump into single player. Or, well, we kind of don't because now we have to go ahead and create our character. I will admit, from ASE to ASA, they have done a lot with this whole thing. I would definitely recommend, especially for new players, really dive into this, kind of go nuts with it. Go ahead, create your character. One thing I do recommend, regardless if you're playing on single player, server, whatever, always name your character. Do that because, especially playing on a server, a lot of servers don't like to see if you're named Human, which is default, or Bob, which is default. They're going to want to see a name there, especially if you are playing on a server. But like I said, it does go very, very specific. You can kind of morph the face. You can pick from generic ones that they have. I don't want to click any of this stuff because I kind of already have my character set up the way that I like it. But again, scalp, brows, eyes, nose, mouth, jaw, ears. I mean, it's really crazy the amount of work and everything that they have done to this. And my character is pretty generic, but I'm happy with how it looks. So I'm sticking with this character. There is a save setting down here, so you can technically save your character preset like we had back in ASE, but I have noticed that this doesn't always work. Like if I go ahead and try to create a new character and stuff, for example, on Bjarnheim, I actually did this and I saved my character as Sean. I don't think it'll come up here. No, it won't. It'll only come up with the S2F that I just created now. So it's kind of iffy with this, but what's actually nice is this character standing right here is actually my Sean character from, or the look of it, from Bjarnheim anyway. So it does kind of save it. So if you kind of create your character, it's kind of always the style, the aesthetic of the character is going to kind of always be here, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you are a new player, I highly recommend go through all this and everything, go a little nuts. You can randomize and have some fun with it, but like I said, I've kind of already created this character and I don't want anything happening to it, so we're going to leave it like that. And then, of course, the last thing is to go ahead, create a character, and figure out where you're going to spawn in. And well, I think at this point, this is where we're going to leave the video because the settings are done at this point, kind of building up to this moment. We've done it. We're here. We're ready to go. We're ready to jump in the game. So I think we're going to wrap up the episode here. Next episode, of course, we're going to start on this screen. We're going to spawn in and, well, begin our adventure. Again, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I know this was probably a lot longer of a video than you and I ever imagined, but I really wanted to do a deep dive into all of the settings and kind of why I do these things and all that kind of stuff. So I hope some of you guys out there appreciated it. And if you stuck through the end, again, a huge thank you. I hope you guys are excited for the series. I certainly am. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to throw a comment down there. Let me know if there's anything you learned in this video. Really help out the algorithm and everything. Again, appreciate everything you guys do. But that is going to wrap up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time when we go ahead and spawn in and we begin our adventure.